Sometimes you just want to feel like someone gets it. The big story of the day, the celebrity drama you're bizarrely invested in, and the little things that don't feel so little. That's what Mum Mia Out Loud is for. It's your daily debrief from the friends in your ears. Holly Wainwright, Mia Friedman, and me, Jessie Stevens. We'll make you think, we'll keep you in the loop, and we will dissect our favourite stories in probably a silly amount of detail. We don't think the same. The other two happen to be wrong a lot of the time, which is sad for them. But that's half of the fun. It's thoughtful, it's honest, and all you have to do is tap play. Listen to Mum Mia Out Loud 5 times a week. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to a Mamma Mia podcast.
Hi friends.
Hello.
Welcome back to Well, Australian Women. This is your full body health check. I'm Claire Murphy, and for the sake of today's episode, I would like to tell you that I have tried meditating and I suck at it. So I'm hoping to get a little bit of help from our experts today.
And I'm Dr. Mariam, and look, I try to meditate. It is very hard to silence my very loud mind, but I am a work in progress. I know I've been saying that often, but I am. It's a nice way to say I'm not failing.
Do you have like conversations in your head, or are you like, is there lots of voices telling you? Not like, I don't think you're hearing voices, but you know what I mean? Like I'm in a constant conversation with myself.
Yeah. So I'm either having a conversation with myself about things that I need to do, and then there are other Mariams having conversation with Mariam, telling Mariam that's not the priority right now, and then she's arguing with them. Yeah.
And I often replay other people's conversations with myself during the day too, which is...
And do you have like a different response?
Sometimes I make up scenarios where I have responded in a better way or a different way, or one where I feel really empowered because I wasn't in the moment. But like there's a lot happening in there. Sometimes it's hard to silence that. So
our mind is a crazy place.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
I would hate for someone to be able to plug in and listen. Like, can you imagine? Sometimes it's just snippets of songs that I'm just replaying the same line over and over and over again. Like,
very
embarrassing. Thank you. This is so embarrassing. Today, though, we are going to find out how to practice mindfulness and meditation as part of getting the rest and reset that our brains need and our bodies need too, mind you. Like, if you've ever sat there thinking about the 1,800 things that you're supposed to do instead of actually meditating, or if you fall asleep when you're trying to be zen and getting centered, then we're going to find out how we can master the art of stopping the hell down today. So even if it's just for a literal minute, just to get back to yourself and breathe and find out what benefit that actually has for you, because apparently there is quite a lot. Mariam, we've also got a question that I think if I went back through all the questions that we've had via all our various ways to get to us, it would be the number one question that has been asked in the Well waiting room. Any ideas on what you think it might be? What do you think people really want to know?
Anal itching, giant clitoris, third nipple.
Look, all of those are wonderful suggestions. However, it is not any of those.
Okay.
It actually has something to do with skipping periods.
Oh, okay.
All right. We are going to head to med school now because, first of all, we know that the clitoris is the star of the show where it comes to women's sexual pleasure, right? But I found out that we also need to be taking much better care of another vital part of that structure. It's often overlooked, so we're going to check in when we go to med school.
Welcome to med school.
Okay. In researching a bit about our sexual organs, I've realised just how similar men and women actually are. Not in the reproductive part, obviously, because, I mean, unless testicles or ovaries, I guess, is kind of a comparison. But like weird that theirs is on the outside. But if you look at things like, penis is essentially like a giant clitoris, right? And then the foreskin would be the part that we're talking about in women today, which is our clitoral hood.
Ooh.
Hood. Such a good word. What is a clitoral hood? I hear you ask. Great question. It is a little bit of skin that's connected to your inner labia, and it protects your clitoris, because the alternative is that you walk around with your clitoris out all day with all its 15,000 nerve endings, and that would be
stimulating.
Very, very stimulating and mildly traumatic. But over time, due to various things like irritation or injury, even hormonal changes too, which is basically the center of a woman's universe, unfortunately, the clitoral hood can get stuck to the clitoris. It can adhere to the clitoris. And to avoid that happening, you need to keep up your hygiene down there, but that does not mean like getting in there with a bar of soap, just be calm. Change your clothes frequently. If you're a sweaty crotch girly, particularly important, wear breathable undies. And there are some treatment options, both surgical and non-surgical, if it does come down to that. Like there's some stretching things that you can do. That is something that you will then need to speak to your GP about. But I was completely unaware that that could actually happen.
Yeah, so it's a thing called clitoral adhesions, and the clitoral hood is there to protect the clitoris. I like to think of it as an eyelid for all those nerve endings, if you think about it.
Like you don't want to walk around with your eyes open all day. So
And some people gently retract it when they're washing just to kind of keep it clean and prevent those adhesions from happening.
Same like if you're a boy, you got to pull back that foreskin and keep it clean.
But just to add, adhesions, they're not super common. Also, if it does happen, nothing to be embarrassed about. Treatable, GP's there to help. See your GP if you're concerned.
Do you know how you know you have an adhesion? I'm guessing it would be painful, uncomfortable.
Yeah, it would be uncomfortable, painful, or you can't find your clitoris.
Wow. That would be sending me running to the GP, let's be honest. So clitoral hood, take better care of it. But we're going to switch gears now because we're going for something very stimulating, just something that's hopefully the opposite of that.
Let's remove the hood.
Let's remove the hood, get into meditation and mindfulness. Mariam, let's get into today's checkup.
It's time for the checkup.
For all the things that we humans have invented to make our lives easier, we have certainly made it busier and a whole bunch more complicated at the exact same time. So when you are racing from doing one thing to the next, ticking things off your to-do list and trying to keep up with, all the things, it can be very easy to lose sight of taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally, let alone physically. We have spoken recently quite a bit about sleep, but what about resting yourself both in body and spirit? So being present, calming the mind and learning how to regulate ourselves emotionally and mentally can be a really powerful thing. Mariam, how do you practice these things? For me, it's reading.
Yeah.
That's my time to turn my brain off and, get out of my head for a minute. A good fiction novel is my form of meditation. Do you have a way that you unwind your brain?
For me, mindfulness and emotional regulation aren't big dramatic rituals. It's like small consistent things that I try to do. So I try to check in with myself throughout the day, especially when things get overwhelming, like I'm running really behind with patients. I haven't had anything to eat. I'm quite dizzy. I'll sit down, take a breather, take a few breaths, have a sip of some water, kind of center it and then continue about my day. I feel like those small things can make such a big difference. Also find sometimes some fresh air can give you some new perspective, especially
go outside, touch some grass.
Exactly. And it's a thing, especially when there's like a lot of emotions with the twins at home, someone's having a tantrum. It's really easy to get, in the middle of it and just feel really overwhelmed. Sometimes just stepping outside for a minute or two, taking a deep breath, being with nature, centering it, and then going back with that energy can really change the direction of things.
Breathing has been such an important thing for me. Like breathing obviously is an important thing for everybody.
You need to live.
That sounded weird. Everyone don't forget to breathe. But controlling breathing and thinking about breathing, being mindful about breathing, because sometimes with perimenopause, I got premenstrual anxiety really bad, and learning how to breathe and regulate how to calm myself down, that's become really important. And I didn't understand that because we take breathing for granted. But if you're breathing too fast, too shallow, you have to really think about what kind of breathing you're doing.
Mine went the other way, Claire. So because of my anxiety, when I started to pay attention to my breathing, I freaked out. I was like, oh my goodness, if I stop breathing, I'm going to die. It was just this
wow,
that was postpartum. I had these panic attacks about breathing because I'd be focused on it. Anyway.
No, that's like sleep too, because you can get sleep anxiety. If you think about it too much, sometimes that is what's stopping you from sleeping. We can get ourselves into a bit of a weird loop where the thing we're trying to focus on is the thing that's making us stressed.
So now I'm thinking Mariam, don't forget to breathe.
Okay, get some air in. Don't forget to breathe, everybody. This is very important advice. Look, if someone was to come to you in your treatment room and say, look, they need to find a way to be more mindful or learn how to meditate, I don't know if that's something that people would even ask you, but what would you recommend to them?
I'd always say start small, keep it simple. I often recommend beginning with something like a 5-minute meditation. There's a fair few via the Headspace website, which we can link for you. It's free, accessible, and a really gentle introduction to the mindfulness space. Even just a few minutes of focused breathing or a short guided meditation can have a massive impact. Yeah, it's not about clearing your mind completely. That's a myth. It's more about noticing your thoughts without judgment and gently bringing your focus back. Generally, patients don't come in asking about it. I usually offer it as part of treatment plans for acute stress, anxiety or depression, or anyone who's just really burnt out or overwhelmed.
Okay, well, we are going to get a little bit into mindfulness in just a moment because we're going to speak to Dr. Richard Chambers. I caught up with him recently, and to say something can be a little bit life-changing.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like, you're a bit over the top.
Yeah.
But there's some things that he said to me which has literally changed how I think about mindfulness and meditation because I'm not a woo-woo person. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm not into anything that feels like non-scientific. So some of the things he says, even just explaining the difference between the two, what is mindfulness and what is meditation and how to best practice them and why neither of them means blanking your mind out, which is I think what I thought meditation was supposed to be. It's really amazing. So that's coming up next.
Parenting podcasts can be a bit earnest. Parenting Out Loud is not that podcast.
This person who I may not agree with politically is trying to talk about integrating children, not just into his professional life, but into public life.
I have referred to myself as one and done. That article did make me rethink the term.
It took about 11 seconds for this to go viral.
Oh God, is this the ejaculate one? That is deranged and I love it.
Parenting changes the way you see everything. Parenting Out Loud takes the big conversations of the moment and puts them through that filter.
Because if parents are thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Parenting Out Loud. Listen weekly wherever you get your podcasts.
Look, meditation and mindfulness does not come easy to everyone. In fact, I don't think I know anyone who was just like, oh yeah, meditation was like second nature to me and I just do it. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who do that. But a lot of us have been trying to meditate only to find ourselves just thinking about, the next load of washing that you need to put on or all the other things that need to be addressed like dinner or whatever. And so how do we actually get better at not doing that? And what are exactly the benefits of it all? Because like I mentioned, not a woo-woo person. Is this woo-woo? Is this real? I spoke to Dr. Richard Chambers. He's a clinical psychologist and mindfulness consultant. And I started by asking him whether mindfulness and meditation are actually two different things. And while we mostly know what meditation is, even if we're not that great at it, what even is mindfulness?
Well, they're sort of the same and sort of different. So mindfulness is being in the present moment. It's just having an orientation to life where we're in the moment, paying attention to what's happening, not reacting, experiencing life directly as it is. And of course, we can cultivate that sitting on a meditation cushion, and we can cultivate that in the other 23 hours and 50 minutes of the day going about our lives, communicating, driving, working, washing dishes. So that's mindfulness, being present. And then meditation, there are so many different types. Meditation's just attention training. So if we focus our attention on a mantra or a visualization or something like that, that's a meditation. And mindfulness meditation is about focusing our attention on the present moment, which we do through the senses. So if we feel our body, feel our breath, notice what we can hear, see, smell, or taste, and we do that in a sort of an intensive way, often sitting in a chair or on a cushion, eyes closed, that's classically how it's done, that cultivates mindfulness. And then when we open our eyes and go about our days, we're a little bit more mindful. And both of them are really important, both sitting every day, that's the massed practice, creating the neuroplastic brain changes, strengthening prefrontal cortex, etc. And then during the rest of the day, of course, it's really important to be as present as we can.
Are we as collective humans finding it harder to control our attention with just the amount of shiny fun things that are around us all day, every day?
Look, I think we are. I've been teaching mindfulness for 25 years and we've only had smartphones for, I think the iPhone is about to have its 18th birthday or 17th birthday. So I can't even remember what I used to talk about before the advent of smartphones and digital tech, let alone wearable tech. So somehow we were getting distracted before. However, we know from the research that digital technology is increasingly distracting and the pace of life just seems to be speeding up and there are so many things competing for our attention. We're definitely seeing increases in rates of things like ADHD. That's better diagnosis, but it also suggests that there are forces at play that are making us more distracted. So I'd say yes, that's probably true.
You mentioned before there are many different types of meditation. Can you give us an idea on what some of them might be, but also whether they're actually serving us in different ways? So like, is Zen meditation doing something for me that, say, mantra meditation is not?
Look, there are lots of types of meditation. Some of them come from wisdom traditions that are thousands of years old. Some of them seem to be more kind of modern. You know, if you take something like mantra meditation, that's got a multiple thousand-year-old history, and a lot of people really swear by it. Some people find it hard just to sit and be present with the senses, and repeating a mantra can be really helpful for them. Broadly speaking, there are concentration practices, of which mantra meditation would be one. So we concentrate on one thing. And then there are mindfulness meditations, which, you know, in the beginning, we might focus very single pointedly on the breath as we train concentration. But ultimately, what we want to do is learn to just be globally aware of what's happening around us and within us, moment to moment. And that's where mindfulness perhaps diverges a little bit. There are compassion meditations. They're, you know, fantastic things where we learn to be more compassionate with ourselves or with others, maybe making kind wishes for all sentient beings or making kind wishes for ourselves, loving kindness and self-compassion practices. So it really just depends on what people are naturally attracted to. I personally think all meditation's better than no meditation. But of course, I tend to trust the things that have come from verifiable sources like wisdom traditions and where there's an evidence base.
A lot of people are using mindfulness or meditation as a form of rest, but are these practices actually providing us with any restorative effects that are similar to us physically resting our bodies?
Definitely, yeah. There's some really interesting research. It goes way back, actually. Herbert Benson, relaxation response. I mean, many decades ago, researchers were finding that even with physiological measures like skin response or other measures of stress, people who meditate tend to experience relaxation. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. When we're not being mindful and our mind's running around like a wild puppy dog, it loves finding problems. It loves getting caught up in worrying about the future, dwelling on the past, reacting and judging to what's happening in the present. And all of that activates the sympathetic nervous system or the fight and flight circuits. So we release adrenaline, cortisol, other stress hormones. So when we step out of that and just get our attention in the present, it activates that parasympathetic nervous system, which does activate relaxation. One of the things that I found really helpful is meditating before bed, which quietens my mind a little bit. It helps me just to let go of all the mental busyness and clutter. And it's definitely better doing, you know, some meditation than watching Netflix in bed.
Or doom scrolling. Yeah.
Or doom scrolling, as we know, right? That's got a whole lot of things going on when we're doing that. And something interesting I noticed, I track my sleep now with an Oura ring. So I'm a sleep tracker because I find that so helpful to get daily metrics about how much sleep did I get, how much REM and deep sleep did I get, how did my body recover overnight. But one interesting thing I noticed when I started tracking my sleep was if I do wake up in the night and then stay awake for, you know, an hour or two, what I'll do is I'll stay in bed and I'll just do sort of basic mindfulness practices like body scan, feeling my body, letting go of tension, breathing. Of course, my mind wants to get busy with planning tomorrow, worrying about yesterday, or worrying about not getting to sleep and what that's going to mean. But all of that mental busyness, again, will be releasing stress hormones. So I'm far better served just focusing on my muscles, relaxing my muscles, focusing on my breathing, bringing my mind back each time it wanders off. And in the morning when I check my scores, my ring counts that as shallow sleep. So it's almost like it's a form of sleep. And people who meditate for a long period of time, and especially if they sort of do, 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, they start finding that they need less sleep overall. I guess because they sleep more deeply, and during the day, they're also not as caught up in the fight and flight response.
Okay, so it might not replace, say, some of those deep sleep states like your REM state, for example, but it complements it in a way.
Definitely complements it. Helps you get to sleep, helps you get back to sleep if you wake up, and doing regular meditation during the day might mean you need a little less sleep, although it's still really important to prioritize trying to get 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep. That's foundational for cognitive performance, well-being, and just living a happy life.
Is there evidence that meditation can actually improve our physical health other than it helping us, say, get extra sleep, and that's, proven to actually help us in a physical sense? But say things like those who suffer with blood pressure issues or immune issues, because we know that sleep is so great for, our immune systems. Like, can meditation be proven to be helpful in any of those kinds of areas?
Absolutely. And again, just referencing the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Sympathetic, which is fight and flight, which doesn't always just mean panic attacks and fighting off tigers. That's just the mode we're in when we're awake and doing things and focusing on work or driving in traffic. When that's activated, the body's in survival mode. And so we shut down non-essential functions, things that aren't immediate.
They're really quite essential.
Things that aren't helping.
But they, in the moment.
Yeah. But in that moment, if we're running from a tiger to think about where this response came from, running from a tiger, your digestion isn't important. So we shut it off. Your immune system, it's not important. So we shut it off and we redirect that energy to the big muscles of the arms and the legs. We switch off higher order thinking and just get into survival mode, limbic system running the show, the emotional brain. And that's useful if we're running from a tiger. But if it's chronically activated during the day, not so useful. Digestive issues, increased blood pressure as the heart's pounding and getting that blood pumping around the body, shallow breathing, immune system switched off. And there have been a lot of studies done around the benefits of mindfulness meditation for physical health, as well as, of course, mental health. Even some of the early studies were really, really interesting. John Kabat-Zinn, who's one of the sort of founding figures in the mindfulness movement, ran a really early study, I think early 90s, where he randomized people with psoriasis, so like a skin complaint with scaly skin, and that they were doing their UV treatment, which is a classic treatment, just get some UV into it. It seems to help with the clearing of it. And one of the two groups did mindfulness meditation while they were getting the UV treatment. The second one just stood there and did whatever they would normally be doing, daydreaming and whatever else. And there was better skin clearing in the mindfulness group. It wasn't a super well-designed study, but it was good enough. Richard Davidson, who's another key figure in mindfulness and contemplative research, neuroscientist, he ran a study with stressed out Silicon Valley executives where half of them did mindfulness meditation. They were injected with, I think it was like an influenza virus or something, to look at the antibody titers that their body produced. They had stronger immune systems, I guess because they weren't shutting it down. So it has profound effects. And in my own life, I'm asthmatic, and when I meditate regularly, which I do all the time, it really seems to have a significant impact on things like asthma. And I've heard from so many of my coaching clients over the years as well that it can help with autoimmune diseases, including Crohn's and quite serious illnesses. Not curing them, but definitely making an impact.
How does one get started in mindfulness and meditation? Because, we're all leading busy, fast-paced lives glued to our devices. How do we pull ourselves away from the rat race and get started?
It's a really great question. So, look, 25 years ago, it was pretty hard to find. I found myself in a Buddhist meditation class. That was my access point to it, and immediately realized, wow, this is profound and life-changing. I'm going to do this and try and get it out there into society as widely as I can. These days, though, we're really lucky. I mean, I've spent the last 25 years teaching mindfulness to, individual clients or in groups. I've embedded it in the core curriculum in 25 different academic units at Monash University. I help make Smiling Mind, which is a really well-known app, I think touching 9 million downloads now. So there are lots of resources available. A really good starting point would just be one of the apps, I guess, Headspace, Calm, Smiling Mind, Happier. There are lots of, if your listeners just do a review of best mindfulness meditation apps 2025, they'll find some that they like. And then starting small, you could think about it like physical exercise. This is mental exercise. Each time our mind wanders off and we bring it back, that's like doing a mental rep, and it literally strengthens the prefrontal cortex. And of course, if we do that consistently, we get a stronger brain that helps us stay focused during the day. But we want to start small. You really want to start, just like with physical exercise. You wouldn't go in the gym and lift weights for 2 hours, or you wouldn't try and run a marathon on day one. You'd go for a 10-minute jog, or you'd, do 30 minutes of weights. So something like that. I usually encourage people to do 5 minutes in the beginning. If you just start with 5 minutes and maybe in time try and push it to 10 minutes. If that's too much, do 1 minute. If that's too much, just try and do things mindfully during the day. Like I said before, any practice is better than no practice. Although in the research, there does seem to be something happening around the 10-minute mark. A lot of the research I've seen has found that 10 minutes produces significant improvements in well-being and cognitive performance and leadership and relationships and sporting performance, things like that.
So do you see what I mean, Mariam?
Yes.
I always thought that to meditate was to sit there and be nothing.
Yeah, like with your legs crossed, your arms in that pose. And
it was supposed to be like a blank whiteboard almost, like nothing happening. But it's not about that at all. And this is something I've just realised because as we've talked about sleep, I've mentioned that I'm a 3 a.m. waker-upper.
Yeah.
And I would honestly just lay there like willing myself to go back to sleep. And what Dr. Chambers said about it's not about clearing everything out. It's about bringing your mind back into itself and like being present. I started doing that and blow me down if it doesn't work.
That's
honestly,
amazing.
I was
so great.
I will stop and I'll find my brain's wandering into the things to do today and I'll be like, no, bring it back to the center. Think about who you are. Think about what you are trying to achieve here. And I would just go back to sleep.
I love it. That's amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Chambers.
Bring it back to the center.
What do you think about all of that, Mariam? Do you think you could become a better meditator or mindfulness, practicer?
I'm trying.
Hang on, let me guess. It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
Look, up next, it is quick consult time. And today it is the most asked question from the Well Waiting Room across our DMs, our emails. It is all about skipping your period.
Hello, friends. It's Holly Wainwright jumping into your ears, not literally, that would be weird, to tell you about the next season of Mid and how it's all about you. You see, over the last 5 seasons, we've talked about everything on Mid, from marriage and divorce to hormones and fashion and sex and grief, life, right? And we've had so much feedback from you about your own messy middles that we have decided to make a season all about that, about you and the challenges that you're facing. The next season of Mid is all about dilemmas and wisdom and sharing both those things. And I am phoning in my friends to help. Hopefully, we're going to sort it out. And me and my more qualified mates, we are really going there. Mid, Conversations for Gen X Women Who Are Anything But, is back in your ears with your questions on Tuesday, July 15th.
The doctor will see you now just through here to consult room 1.
Mariam, it's time. Michelle has a question that has been mirrored in so many other requests sent in recent weeks. So if you could, please do the honours.
Thank you for waiting. How can I help you?
We have been asked this same question from so many of you, so we're going to address it today from a DM that Michelle sent us. Mm-hmm. She wrote,
I've been told by many GPs over the years that it's fine to keep taking the pill in order to skip my period. Some have said to have a period every 3 or 6 months or just when I spot. The number of doctors who have essentially said the same thing is reassuring, but none have explained what exactly happens to my cycle when I do this. Do I stay in the luteal phase indefinitely? Like hormonally, if I just keep taking the pill and don't have a period for 4 months, what is actually happening in there?
Now, I am going to add a little bit here that also came from an anonymous question in the waiting room. If you don't get a period due to contraception, she has one of those long-acting implant ones, what happens to all the menstrual blood that usually comes out each month?
Okay, first up, it is absolutely safe to skip the bleed on the pill.
I've heard rumour that the only reason that there are sugar pills in the pack is because it was invented in the 60s and men decided that you still needed to have a period for whatever reason.
And that's exactly right. So the old idea that you need a monthly bleed was actually based on convenience and outdated thinking, as you've mentioned, not medical necessity. In fact, the sugar pills in your pack were included in early versions of the pill to mimic a natural cycle and make it feel more acceptable when the pill came about. And it's not because that your body needs that bleed. And I don't like to call it a period because it's not a period, it's a withdrawal bleed. So when you're taking the combined oral contraceptive pill continuously, so you're skipping those sugar pills, you're essentially preventing ovulation, so those follicles releasing that mature egg. No ovulation means no natural hormone cycle. So you're not actually staying in the luteal phase indefinitely because your body isn't going through any phases at all.
Okay, so you're just like in stasis.
Yeah, so the pill gives you these steady synthetic doses of estrogen and progesterone, which override those natural hormonal fluctuations. And your ovaries take a back seat. They're like, I'm just going to chill back here.
Cool.
And your body doesn't go through the usual build-up and shedding of the uterine lining in the same way it would do in a natural cycle.
Is that why you would often get prescribed for treatment of, say, like PMT, PMDD, those kinds of things, because it does stop those fluctuations?
Exactly.
Okay.
And heavy menstrual bleeding, same thing as well. So what happens hormonally? So I kind of say, think of it, you're in like a hormonal cruise control. There's no ovulation, there's no real follicular luteal phase, and often only a very thin uterine lining, which is why you may not get a bleed for many months and months. And that's totally okay.
So there's no build-up of the lining and it's not just sitting in there like grossing
exactly.
out.
So no period doesn't mean there's a backlog waiting to explode. It just means your uterus is doing less
Can you
work.
imagine if it just meant like more and more and more was just like piling up, ready to go?
Yeah,
One day
out.
you just bust out the world's most giant period. That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Such a great question.
Hormonal cruise control.
Hormonal cruise control. Make sure you keep all these amazing questions coming our way. If you have something you want to ask Dr. Mariam, the waiting room means you can be anonymous. There's a link in our show notes. Of course, hit us up in the DMs, Instagram or TikTok. Email us to well@mamamia.com.au. Mariam, I've got a surprise for you.
What's that?
We're going to do the end a little bit differently today.
Okay, I'm excited.
Before I fill you in on what we're going to do, let me just remind you first that anything you've heard during this episode of Well is general advice. Only it doesn't mean it will suit you in particular. So as much as we wish we could tell you we have all the answers for you specifically, we need you to have the conversations with your own doctors so you know that they can rule in and out all of the things that you are experiencing. And we're all just so bloody different. It's kind of annoying. And I can't imagine how hard your job is because all of us are not the same.
Some people have 2 vaginas.
Some people have 2 vaginas.
That's right.
You need to take these things into account. Make sure you speak to your own GP or healthcare provider to ensure you get health advice that's completely tailored to your needs. Remember to sign up to the Well newsletter. There's a link to that in our show notes. You don't want to miss out on anything. But now, Mariam.
Let's do it.
Let's get mindful together.
Okay.
We are inviting you to join us for a minute, 60 seconds of gentle guided meditation. A moment just for you, courtesy of our expert today, Dr. Richard Chambers. He has a ton of meditations on his website. This one goes for just 1 minute. Look, if you are listening to this in the car, possibly not the most appropriate time to be doing this. But if you can stop for 60 seconds, let's do this together. Take it away, Dr. Chambers.
This is a 1-minute practice for bringing your awareness fully into the present moment. For this 1-minute practice, start by sitting comfortably and just allowing your eyes to close if that's comfortable for you. Choosing to let go of whatever you were doing before and whatever you're going to be doing later. And just coming to the senses, coming to the body. Noticing your posture, the way that you're sitting in the chair. Noticing the points of contact with the chair, feet on the floor, clothes on the skin. And then noticing the breath as it enters and leaves the body. expansion and contraction, rising and falling. Just allowing your attention to settle on the body, on the breath. And then when you're ready, allowing your eyes to open and moving off into whatever awaits you.
Well, that's good. I could do that in 60 seconds. How are you feeling? You look very zen.
That was amazing. I didn't forget to breathe.
Oh, that's good. I'm really proud of you. We hope you carry this sense of calm and self-kindness with you as you move through the rest of your day. Thank you for taking this time for yourself. You deserve it.
Bye-bye.
She's asleep now, so we have to move on. We will see you right here for, well, your next appointment next week.
Bye-bye.
Well is produced by me, Claire Murphy, and our senior producer, Sasha Tannick, with audio production by Scott Stronach and video production by Julian Rosario.
Mamma Mia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Hi, I'm obstetrician Dr. Patrick Maloney.
And I'm Bridget Maloney. We're the hosts of The Kick, the pregnancy podcast that breaks down everything you need to know about making and growing a tiny human.
We cover it all with expert information and evidence-based discussion based on our experience of running a women's clinic and being parents to 4 boys.
From morning sickness to birth plans, strange cravings to baby movements, listen to The Kick wherever you get your podcasts.